Hey, good morning YouTube. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. My sermon this week is partly on what many of y'all call the Lord's Prayer. And what is prayer but communication with our Heavenly Father? And the subject of today's short video is also communication. Now there are a lot of ways to communicate. This is one. I'm communicating with you. Some of y'all will communicate back with me and other people via the comments. In the military we had hand and arm signals. You can use signal flags. You can lay things out on the ground if you study wilderness survival. And there's a variety of other means that we can use, more modern, to communicate. And in fact at GOTS, just in a little over a month, we are going to have some classes on some of the more high-tech methods of communication. And so there's an invite for you. Shameless plug for my book, Survivalist Family. I talk about these types of communication means a little bit in this book to give you some ideas of what to do and how to do it. My book is available at survivalistfamily.com, or you can get it on Amazon, so that's a shameless plug. But really today what I'm going to talk about is not this kind of communication, but something a little bit more mundane, and that is telephonic communication via cell phones or landlines, which I don't have one sitting in here right now. Now, somebody wrote to me and they expressed to me some problems they were having with their children. She sends her children around the world on school trips and things like that, and that's good, but you know, she worries because we live in a scary world, and so they have communication plans. And you know, several times she would get a phone call from a child and it's like, "Hi Mom, something terrible happened, and you know, I don't know how it happened," and click, and the phone goes dead. Or you can imagine if there was a tornado or a terrorist incident and you may have cell phone communication or even landline communication for a short period of time. You could have a loved one that's stuck on the side of the road somewhere in a rainstorm or a snowstorm, and you know, they have one bar, or they have, even if they have like 4 or 5 bars, but they only have a little bit of battery life, and they're like, "Oh, you won't believe what happened. I was driving from Aunt Mabel's and click," and you don't hear anything else, and you didn't get any information except that someone's in trouble. And so how can we handle that? How can we communicate more effectively? And I'll tell you, we have to decide before we ever dial that number, before we ever push to talk on the radio, what it is we want to communicate. Don't just call and start talking. Call and give the important bits of information first. My wife has a cell phone, and she's on it a lot, and she calls me and she checks in, and it took me about a year to train her to tell me where she was first thing. And typically I would answer the phone. I would answer my phone, "Hello," and she'd go, "Hi, you know, I'm doing this, that, and the other thing, and I thought I'd stop by," and I'd always interrupt her and say, "Where are you?" And she'd go, "Oh, I'm at the intersection of this road and that road," or "I'm at this place." The reason I wanted to know where she was is I didn't know what she was calling me about, and if something happened, I wanted to have a start point for where I could find her. So now, when my wife calls me on her cell phone, I'll say, "Hello," and she'll say, "I'm at the intersection of 5 and 32. "Right, what's up?" And then she'll start talking to me. What are the most important bits of information we want to know? We do want to know where the people who are calling us are, typically, especially if it's a loved one that we may have to go rescue or get out of a tight spot. We want to know what's going on. I had an exercise once in the military, and it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and we were in a training area in eastern Washington State, which is high desert, and it was snowy. And a vehicle, a deuce-and-a-half truck with soldiers in the back, rolled over and rolled down a short cliff and was destroyed. And a captain had to go wake up a higher ranking officer and tell him what had happened. Well, this officer was asleep. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. He hadn't slept for about 2 days. He was finally laying down to get a nap, and this incident happened, so he had to wake him up and inform him of it. And there's a lot of ways you could inform the commander of what was going on, but I thought my friend did a really good job, and this is what he did. He woke up the boss woke up and went, "What's going on?" He said, "First off, sir, nobody's hurt." Now, you know, if he would have said, "Hey, we had a deuce-and-a-half, it was coming from area X-ray to area Zulu, it flipped over," immediately the commander's going to start thinking, "Is everybody okay? What's going on? Who's hurt? Who's dead? Have you called a medevac?" Dun, 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 dun. So he gave him the most important information right up front. Nobody's hurt. Then he told him, you know, the rest of the story. If you're calling because you are broken down on the side of the road and you need someone to come get you, assuming they know your voice. And if they don't, you can say, hey, this is Joe. I'm stuck at blah, blah, blah. I need you to come get me. You don't need to go into all the details of how you got stuck and what happened until after you get out the vital information. You don't need to say, I need you to come get me, before you give information as to where you are. They could probably figure out that you might need help, and they would know where to go if you'd already told them where you were. So call up, identify who you are if that's necessary, tell them where you are if that's going to be necessary, and usually that is, and then tell them what the problem is. Then you can have the long conversation about the hows, the whys, the what's going on. And if the phone line gets cut off or something happens, you'll have gotten the important information out first. There are ways to communicate over, military communication means or radios that are succinct. And that's probably a video for another time, or maybe an article on my blog or something like that, because it's just too much detail. But what I want to get out today is, when you are calling somebody, whether it's on a radio or a cell phone or anything like that, and you have an important issue to get across, get that issue across right away. Then start the talking and the gossiping and the things like that. I hope this helped. I hope you can find something in it you can use, and I'll see you guys out there.